Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about abortion versus neonaticide. Okay, it's a controversial topic, but there's something going on in the news right now about a beauty queen who in fact committed this crime of neonaticide in her room, where she proceeded to hide it, and now she's been caught. And a lot of people are judging her very, very harshly. And I just want to say, yes, she committed a crime. She needs to be judged in court. But I think, a jury of her peers needs to show a little bit of compassion. And my thing is kind of what's the difference between that and abortion? So today I'm going to be sort of exploring the things that get you to these places, and also what you can do in the state of Michigan. If you are in crisis, there are things you can do in the state of Michigan to give your baby up in a humane manner, okay? So, abortion... Okay, and one disclaimer, guys. You'll get no judgment from me. If you've had an abortion, even if you've committed this crime, okay? I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to talk. Alright. So, abortion is defined as the termination of a fetus, which is the offspring of a human in the stages of prenatal development, the embryo stage after 8 weeks of conception in the womb. So, that's when it becomes a baby, basically. So neonaticide, on the other hand, is the deliberate killing of a newborn within 24 hours of birth. And I want to know, is there a difference between termination and deliberate killing? Let me know in the comments, because I think that when they talk about abortion, they've used very inclusive language to sort of minimize what it is. Probably to make the people who do it feel better about their decision, because it is so emotionally damaging to people who get abortions. Hey guys, I don't know what just happened. So if I was staring at the camera for a second, I was really confused. My phone started ringing and my video stopped. Okay, so anyway, we need to talk about the stigma of pregnancy, with the stigma of unplanned pregnancy. Okay, so society wants to see a woman married and in good financial standing when we procreate, which is totally unreasonable. You become of a certain age, usually around 18 or 19. It's sort of when you're in your best physical childbearing ages, maybe not necessarily emotionally or culturally. So a common norm is that pregnancy will ruin your life, and it will prevent us from achieving our goals. We're told if we get pregnant, our lives are over. Teen moms and young mothers are judged as irresponsible, and the older mothers, the ones that are over 35, they're also judged because there's a risk of health, because of being I think they call it geriatric pregnancy or something if it's over 35. I could be saying that wrong, but I remember I was really close to that when I had my daughter. I was pretty close to the being too old genre. Okay, so okay, and I want to say this too. If you don't use birth control, you may be accused of getting pregnant on purpose. Yes, I have been there. I feel like every time I've ever gotten pregnant, I've been accused of doing it on purpose. I did not use birth control because it's not good for your body. But if you are the kind of girl who does have goals, who you might want to consider birth control, just so you don't end up in this situation, okay? Okay, so what are the consequences of this? Shame, feeling like a bad person. It leads to secrecy of hiding pregnancies. And then the fear of judgment prevents people from seeking help. So when you judge people too harshly and things like that, it's going to make the person on the receiving end that's listening feel a little bit more reluctant to seeking help because they think there's going to be all these judgments and things. Okay, so let's talk about neonaticide. I had to make sure I was pronouncing that correctly. I think I am. Okay, so 90% of mothers who commit this crime are 25 years old and under. 30% are viewed as psychotic or depressed, although mental illness is often blamed. So, normies are more likely to commit this crime than a mentally ill person. Which I find very interesting, and I think it's because, like, say you're like a normie, there are a lot of expectations put on them to succeed and to kind of claw your way through life and things like that. So I can sympathize a little bit with the normies here. Neonaticide has been practiced culturally as late as the 20th century China. Have you guys ever read The Good Earth? I don't remember what grade I was in when we read that, but it was about China, maybe in the 1800s or early 1900s, and he feeds his daughter to some wolves or something, because daughters were viewed as less useful than men. And his wife did not bind her feet, which I believe came out of practice in the 20th century, if I am correct. I don't know. You can correct me. I read it somewhere. Okay, so I live in Michigan. So this is for my Michigan peeps, okay? If you are pregnant and you are scared, you don't want to keep your baby, there's always adoption, of course. Like, somebody in my family gave a baby up, my aunt gave a baby up for adoption, and they found each other later in life and had a relationship. And I also worked with a girl a long time ago who was kind of like a young girl who got pregnant, and she gave her baby up for adoption. And it's a really selfless, like, nice thing you can do for people. And also, if you are not in a situation where you feel you can be out about your pregnancy, Michigan, we need to talk about our safe haven laws, okay? There is currently no Michigan state law or installed safe haven baby boxes, which have been around since the Middle Ages, I've heard. However, there is a safe delivery of newborns law, okay? You can safely surrender an infant up to 3 days old face-to-face. That can be at the hospital, the fire station, or the police station. Current state law requires face-to-face contact with the first responder. So, I mean, call an ambulance, you know, like, you're not going to get in trouble. There's a law to protect you to surrendering your newborn. In Michigan state law, oh, actually, I'm going to talk about that here. So I want to talk about abortion a little bit, and the reasons for abortion are like the same, which is like financial worries, fear of single motherhood, wanting to complete an education first. It interferes with life goals. And from what I've read, from my understanding, Michigan state law allows abortion in the 3rd trimester. So what is the difference between aborting a baby in the 3rd trimester and committing this killing when it's born? I just don't think there's a difference. And I think the reason why one is legal and one is not is due to the money, the almighty dollar. One's taxed and one isn't. And of course, in a medical setting, hopefully, theoretically, it's going to be a safer, more expensive environment. But like, what I'm saying is one you pay for and one you don't. And I'm not saying it's right. I am saying it's wrong. It is a wrong, sinful thing to do. And I do think it should be punished by law. But I think there needs to be a little bit more compassion for people in that situation, because you just don't know what kind of pressure they were under. And when you're young, you don't see the bigger things in the world. You're just like in this little bubble. You're quite sheltered when you're young. So just keep that in mind. Be compassionate. And That's it, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.